Good morning, everyone. I'm excited to welcome you to today's presentation. Today, we'll be exploring the need and significance of ethics in research. On this first slide, you see the title that sets the tone for our discussion. We'll be looking at why ethics are so crucial in research and how they guide us toward responsible and credible scientific work. Over the next few slides, I'll walk you through the key concepts and importance of maintaining ethical standards in research practices. Let's get started. Today, we're going to explore the learning objectives for this session, starting with understanding the meaning of research ethics. Research ethics essentially refers to the moral principles that guide researchers in conducting their work responsibly and with integrity. It's about ensuring that the pursuit of knowledge does not come at the expense of honesty, fairness, and respect for all involved. Next, we'll look at the need for ethics in research. As researchers, we handle sensitive data, work with human participants, and make decisions that can impact society. Without a strong ethical framework, there's a risk of harm, bias, or misconduct, which can undermine the credibility of our findings and damage public trust. Finally, we'll discuss the significance of ethics in research. Upholding ethical standards is crucial because it fosters trust, promotes transparency, and helps maintain the integrity of the scientific process. When we prioritize ethics, we're not just protecting our subjects and ourselves, we're also contributing to the advancement of reliable and credible knowledge that benefits society as a whole. This foundation of ethics ties directly into the overall theme of responsible research practices. Research ethics really acts as the moral compass for our entire scientific community. It provides the essential rules and professional standards that guide us through every stage of a study, from designing the initial blueprint all the way to publishing the final results. And it's crucial that this process is carried out with transparency and accuracy, so we can trust the findings we share. Think of research ethics as a protective safeguard. Its main goals are to uphold integrity, meaning we stay honest in how we collect data and report results, preventing any form of fraud. It also prioritizes the welfare of those involved, whether human participants or animal subjects, making sure they aren't exposed to unnecessary risks or mistreatment. Another key point is balancing impact, ensuring that the knowledge we gain is valuable enough to justify any potential harm caused during research. Ultimately, these guidelines help us navigate that tricky line between asking, "Can we do this?" and "Should we do this?" This is essential for maintaining public trust in science, which is the foundation of our work and its societal value. Let's start with the first core principle, respect for persons, which is also known as autonomy. This principle recognizes that individuals should be treated as independent agents capable of making their own decisions. In practice, this is where informed consent comes into play. Participants need to be fully informed about what the study involves, the risks, and the benefits, so they can decide freely whether to participate. Importantly, they should also know they have the right to withdraw at any time without any penalty. It's also crucial to consider vulnerable populations, like children or prisoners, who might not be able to give fully informed consent on their own. These groups require extra safeguards to ensure their participation is ethical and truly voluntary. Overall, this principle emphasizes respecting each person's autonomy and ensuring they have all the information they need to make an informed choice. It's a fundamental part of conducting morally sound research and upholding trust and integrity in our work. Now, let's talk about beneficence, which is all about doing good. Researchers have a duty to do everything they can to maximize the potential benefits of their work while minimizing any possible harms. It's not just about being kind or considerate. It's a proactive responsibility to make sure that the research is truly worth the risks involved. A key concept here is the risk-benefit ratio. This ratio needs to always favor benefits, whether that's for the participants or for society at large. Essentially, we need to weigh the potential gains against the possible harms and ensure that the benefits significantly outweigh the risks. Moving on to non-maleficence, which is often paired with beneficence. This is the principle of do no harm. It emphasizes that we should avoid causing any unnecessary pain, distress, or long-term damage to our research subjects. In practical terms, even if a study promises groundbreaking data, it can't justify causing significant harm to participants. The integrity of research depends on protecting those involved, ensuring that we do no harm while striving for valuable knowledge. So, in summary, these principles remind us that ethical research isn't just about discovery. It's about responsibility, compassion, and making sure the pursuit of knowledge doesn't come at an unacceptable cost. Now, let's talk about the principle of justice, or fairness, in research. This principle really asks us to consider who benefits from research and who bears the risks. It's about making sure that these are distributed fairly, not just based on convenience or accessibility. For example, when we talk about equitable selection, we need to ask, are the subjects chosen simply because they are easy to reach or manipulate? Sometimes researchers pick low-income communities because they are more accessible, but that can be problematic. We want to avoid exploiting vulnerable populations just for convenience. Another key point is fair distribution. If a study discovers a life-saving treatment, we need to ensure that the benefits aren't only reserved for the wealthy. At the same time, the risks should not be borne disproportionately by the poor or vulnerable groups. This principle reminds us that fairness isn't just an ethical ideal. It's about ensuring justice in who gets access and who takes on the risks in research. Overall, justice ties into the broader theme of ethical research, making sure that everyone is treated fairly and that the benefits and burdens are shared equitably. In this slide, we're exploring some core ethical principles that guide medical decision-making. Imagine a doctor who recognizes that a certain medication could be harmful to a patient and decides to stop it. This action exemplifies the principle of non-maleficence, which is all about do no harm. It's a fundamental duty for healthcare providers to prioritize patient safety and prevent harm whenever possible. So, the correct answer here is B, non-maleficence. Now, moving on to the second point, what does patient-physician privilege really mean? Essentially, it refers to the confidentiality of the information shared between a patient and their doctor. This confidentiality encourages open communication, which is vital for effective care. So, when we talk about patient-physician privilege, we're talking about C, confidentiality. These concepts are central to maintaining trust in the healthcare relationship and ensuring ethical practice. They connect to the broader theme of respecting patient rights and safeguarding their well-being, which are foundational to ethical healthcare. Let's talk about protecting human and animal subjects, which is at the core of ethical research. The most critical aspect here is preventing exploitation. While pushing boundaries is often necessary for research progress, we must always ensure it doesn't come at the expense of the well-being of participants. One key point is voluntary participation. This means no one should feel pressured or coerced into taking part. People need to agree freely, without any undue influence. Next, informed consent is essential. Participants should fully understand what the study involves, including the potential risks and benefits, before they agree to participate. It's about transparency and making sure they're making an educated decision. Finally, minimizing risk is a fundamental ethical obligation. Researchers should always strive to use the least invasive methods possible to achieve their goals. This approach helps protect participants and maintains trust in the research process. All these points, voluntary participation, informed consent, and minimizing risk, are interconnected and reflect the overarching need for ethical responsibility in research. They remind us that science must serve humanity ethically and compassionately. Now, let's talk about maintaining scientific integrity. Ethics play a crucial role here, ensuring that the data we report truly reflects the data we collected. Without proper ethical oversight, the intense pressure to publish can sometimes push researchers toward unethical practices. For example, fabrication involves making up data out of thin air, which can seriously mislead the scientific community. Falsification, on the other hand, means manipulating research materials or changing data to support a specific hypothesis, which compromises the validity of the research. And then there's plagiarism, where someone takes credit for someone else's intellectual work, undermining originality and trust. These unethical behaviors not only damage individual careers, but also threaten the credibility of science as a whole. So, maintaining integrity is essential to ensure that our work is honest, reliable, and contributes meaningfully to knowledge. Building public trust and support is essential because, as we know, science is largely funded by the public through taxes and grants. If people start to see researchers as dishonest or as mad scientists operating without proper oversight, that funding can quickly disappear. That's where accountability comes in. Ethical guidelines help establish a clear framework so the public can hold researchers responsible for their work. And it's not just about honesty. Reliable research has a direct influence on laws and safety standards that affect all of us. If research is conducted unethically, the policies that result could be disastrous. So, maintaining trust isn't just about reputation. It's about ensuring that science continues to serve the public good effectively and safely. Now, let's talk about facilitating collaboration in modern research. As you know, research today is rarely a solo endeavor. It often involves partnerships that span across the globe. Because of this, maintaining clear ethical standards is crucial. For example, regarding intellectual property and peer review, these norms help ensure that everyone involved gets proper recognition, which we refer to as authorship. It's important that contributions are accurately credited, so that each person's work is acknowledged fairly. Additionally, transparency is key. Disclosing any conflicts of interest helps maintain trust and integrity in the research process. And of course, confidentiality during peer review is vital to protect the integrity of the review process and the proprietary nature of the work. All these ethical norms work together to promote honest collaboration and uphold the credibility of scientific research, which ties back to our overall theme of responsible and ethical research practices. When ethics are ignored, the damage can often be irreversible, and these historical examples really highlight why modern ethical codes are so important. For instance, the Tuskegee study involved withholding treatment and lacking proper consent, which led to decades of medical mistrust, especially within minority communities. Then, there's the Milgram experiment, where psychological distress and deception were used, ultimately resulting in strict regulations to prevent psychological harm. And we can't forget the Wakefield study, which manipulated data related to vaccines and autism, causing huge public health crises due to vaccine hesitancy. These examples show that ethical failures not only harm individuals, but can also have long-lasting effects on society. They remind us that maintaining high ethical standards is crucial for trust, safety, and the integrity of our work. Ensuring that results are true and reproducible is a cornerstone of good science. Basically, if I make a discovery, I want other researchers to be able to follow the same steps and arrive at the same conclusion. That's where ethical conduct comes into play, being transparent and honest about every part of the process. When I talk about data integrity, it means recording everything carefully, including outliers and even those failed attempts. This honesty helps build trust and makes the research more reliable. Avoiding bias is also crucial. Disclosing who funds the study, for example, allows others to spot potential conflicts of interest that could influence the results. At its core, ethics add real value to our work. Ethical research leaves a legacy, a foundation of trustworthy, high-quality information that society can rely on to move forward. And that's what ultimately makes science meaningful and impactful. When we talk about the moral weight of social responsibility, it's important to remember that research doesn't happen in a vacuum. It has real impacts on people's lives. Ethical research is about making sure that our pursuit of innovation doesn't come at the expense of human rights or core social values. One key point is justice in sampling. That means we need to be fair in who we include in our studies. For example, it's unethical to only use groups like students or people in poverty just to develop cures that mainly benefit wealthier populations. Our research should aim for fairness and equity. Another crucial aspect is environmental impact. Today, many ethical frameworks require us to consider the ecological footprint of our experiments. We have a responsibility to minimize harm not just to people, but also to the planet. All of these points connect back to the overall theme of responsible research. It's about balancing innovation with integrity, making sure our work benefits society as a whole without causing unintended harm. Protecting the reputation of the scientific community is absolutely crucial. You see, it takes decades to build that kind of credibility and trust. But unfortunately, it only takes one scandal to seriously damage everything we've worked for. That's why ethics serve as a vital shield for our profession, helping us maintain integrity and public confidence. When it comes to public funding, most high-level research depends on government grants. If the public perceives researchers as unethical or dishonest, that funding can quickly disappear, which hampers progress and innovation. And then there's peer cooperation. Ethical standards set the rules of the road for sharing data and collaborating. Researchers are more likely to openly share their findings if they trust that their intellectual property will be respected and protected. All these points tie back to our overall goal: maintaining trust and credibility in science, which ultimately benefits everyone. Let's talk about the importance of legal and institutional security in research. Essentially, ethics act as a bridge between the laboratory and the law. They help ensure that our scientific work is not only innovative, but also compliant with legal standards. When we follow ethical protocols, such as those established by an institutional review board or ethics committee, we protect ourselves and our institutions from potential legal liabilities that could be massive. It's about risk management, being proactive and responsible. Moreover, ethics serve as a universal language for science. By adhering to established guidelines like the Declaration of Helsinki or the Belmont Report, we ensure that our work is respected across the globe. This global standardization fosters trust, collaboration, and integrity in scientific research. So, in essence, maintaining ethical standards isn't just about doing the right thing. It's about safeguarding our careers, our institutions, and the credibility of science itself. Let's take a moment to look at the overall impact of the topics we've discussed. First, to the individual, these principles help protect dignity and safety, ensuring that everyone involved is respected and secure. For the researcher, adhering to these standards is crucial for maintaining career longevity and credibility. Trustworthiness is everything in scientific work. When we consider the body of knowledge, following proper practices guarantees that research remains accurate and reproducible, which is essential for progress. And finally, to society as a whole, these efforts provide a trustworthy foundation for policy decisions and medical advancements that truly benefit everyone. Ultimately, these points tie back to the central theme, that integrity and responsibility in research are vital for advancing science and protecting everyone involved.